Ladies and gentlemen, the light exchange. Beautiful soul family, much light, much love, and much blessings going out to each and every one of you. I genuinely hope you are well. From my sacred space into your homes, welcome to November's Light Exchange, a space that has been brought forward by Great Spirit in order for me to be able to interview many spiritual teachers, healers, light workers across the globe, and to be able to bring forward real lived experiences on the spiritual journey. And together we bring forward the insights, the practical tools and wisdoms to help assist you on your hero's journey, the journey of light. Who am I? I'm Jo, shaman of memory, snow leopard, and I am a soul alignment practitioner and medicine maker based here in Melbourne, Australia. And today I have the honor and privilege of introducing to you another soul, beautiful in her nature. Her name's Angela Arnold, and she is the founder of ASA Hypnosis and Reiki in USA. Now, of all the years that I've conducted readings, of all these sessions that have been brought forward by Great Spirit to me, there are 3 in particular that have resonated in a deep and profound way for the fact that they were instrumental to my own evolution and awakening. For those that are new to the journey of light, my background is in the corporate world, and I can tell you it is very different for the world I live in now. And in that process, one thing that I wanted to do for myself, for my own curiosity, was to question everything and to look at things from a very intellectual point of view. And I interviewed many people and spoke and questioned them, the ifs, the buts, the whys, the maybes. They all brought forward the same truth that Spirit had told me all along as I was reawakening to my own gifts. For the gifts that I have are not only of this life, they come from previous lives. And in this incarnation, they come through both sides of the bloodline, the maternal and the paternal bloodline, reawoken in me once more. And the truth is this: for you and for every person and everything that resides within this planet, energy is vital to us. And it is this energy that we have forgotten how to utilize. It is the power that resides within. It is the one that our ancestors used for millennia. And somewhere along the way, we forgot how to use it. But times are changing. The consciousness of man is reawakening once more. Out of those 3 readings, the one that we speak of is that of Angela's. And Angela's, for me, was instrumental because it taught me the difference of frequencies, of someone who is open, receptive, and healing. Their energy is light like air and it sits up here, versus someone who refuses to do the internal work, be it small trauma, big trauma, generational trauma, trauma and poison inflicted from the society that is around us, or trauma that we inflicted upon ourselves. By playing the archetype of the mother, sacrificing our own needs, be it mentally, emotionally, physically, and spiritually, to try and gain that acceptance from the outside world. And quite often when we try and gain this acceptance, it's for people, things, and circumstances that don't even really serve where we need to be or who we essentially are. And it is my hope that we can all step closer towards that energy that Angela exhibited. So it will free us. It'll invigorate us, bring forward the passion, the life, the integrity and the sincerity and the joy. It's not to say that we are perfect, no. For the earth is a place where we are learning to evolve as souls. And there are souls now, as the consciousness rises, as the new earth starts to emerge, people who are reawakening gifts from past lives, people who are awakening gifts from the bloodline, or both simultaneously. And then there are the new souls who have come upon the earth for the first time and are starting their journey from the very beginning. Regardless of where you are, I hope you are able to embrace yourself enough to be honest with yourself about what your true needs are. Not one from a place of ego, from one that is of self-respect, of honor, honoring yourself. And with that being said, let us introduce you to Angela, and Angela will tell you a little bit more about her work and what she does. Over to you, Angela. Thank you for being here.
Hello, luminous souls. My name is Angela. I reside in Portland, Oregon, United States, and I am the creator of ASA Hypnosis and Reiki. I do energy work, neuro-linguistic programming, which also is called NLP. I do intuitive card readings, shamanic healings, and many other modalities, whatever is best for my client at the moment. My goal is to bring sovereignty to every soul on this planet, if possible, or at least as many as I can in my lifetime. I have walked the path of needing healing myself, and that is what's brought me here to this moment in time where I get to share that healing with others and where I get to help them return to their sovereign self. It is a blessing to be able to do the work that I do, and what I love most about it is that I get to be in a state of awe and just openness and learning for myself with every person that I work with, and the blessing of being in their energy and watching them transform. So this work is very meaningful to me, and it lights up my heart space greatly. I wouldn't want to be doing anything else on the planet. So I am very grateful to be able to be in this space and to do the work that I do, and for the souls who do come my way, and being able to tune in and tap into their energy and to help them find their way as well. As most healers, we have to walk the path before we can show others the way and light the path for them. So that is my goal, and I really, truly love and feel blessed to do this work. And I'm so happy to be able to introduce myself to you through Jo here at Journey of Light. So much gratitude to her for this opportunity.
I understand. I have witnessed this too. Many spiritual teachers, healers, and light workers out there. We are reawoken as a result of the pain, for the pain was the catalyst required for alchemy to take place. And rather than hardening to the world, they chose to be softer. They chose to bring forward the wisdom that was dormant inside, the gifts that were inside, to rise to the surface to heal themselves. And not satisfied with that, because I know I myself wasn't. Yes, I healed, but I wanted to make sure that other people out there who were perhaps experiencing similar things to what I did didn't have to endure the process of healing over a long period in time. Without taking shortcuts, I wanted to make sure that they were well, that they could shorten the healing process to bring them back into a place of wellness, place of peace. And I know many spiritual teachers and mentors out there feel exactly the same. It is the very reason why we do not seek or should not seek counseling or help and assistance from someone who is completely in the mind, devoid of all humanity. Because when someone has lived through an experience like this, it brings forward so much love, compassion, and empathy deep within. Whether it's a spiritual teacher, whether it's myself, Angela, anyone else out there that you feel called to, or even if it's your physician, your optometrist, your cardiologist, seek people who genuinely want to look after you and your own well-being. If you have concerns, they don't ignore it, they answer that question. It is the very reason why Great Spirit has called me to create videos for you. Because in a world where we can easily search Google and be our own doctors and be our own physicians, where some of the information is definitely very wrong, or where we are able just to put information on ChatGPT and all this AI information comes through. It's very difficult. And I imagine in the next couple of months, the AI advancements that are currently happening will make things even harder. Spirit tells me this though, one thing they will not be able to replicate is the light that is within us. The light, our soul, transmitted through our eyes. Look into the eyes of that you watch. We cannot replicate the eyes in technology, nor can we replicate energy. And these things will not lie. Over the months that has led us to present date, Great Spirit specifically had chosen the teachers that we were going to be interviewing for Business in Focus as well as the Light Exchange, for the particular reason that each of them provided something completely different on the spiritual path. both to help introduce us to different spiritual modalities and careers that are available out there that differ to the traditional matrix world, but also to provide the healing for those that needed it at that particular point in time. In this particular case, Angela is no different. She has the ability to merge many modalities, be it hypnosis, NLP, past life regression, shamanic healing, Reiki, etc. And the two that are going to be important, especially for Australian and New Zealand viewers out there, is hypnosis and NLP. For it is not widely used here in Australia and New Zealand yet, unlike in America and Europe. And it's Angela who's going to give us a little bit of knowledge and insight as to the difference between the two and when we are best to utilize it. So over to Angela. Thank you for sharing your wisdom with us.
Well, NLP and hypnosis have very similar aspects to them. The primary difference is that one is done in a trance state, which is hypnosis, and the other is done in more of the waking state, this beta state that we're in right now where I'm talking with you. So NLP can also be utilized when you're in a trance state. And how I like to utilize it, I actually like to utilize hypnosis, energy work, and NLP together, because they kind of create a more holistic healing. More imagery creates more success, longer term benefits for the client. And I kind of like to refer to it as hypnosis is the doorway, energy work is the path, and NLP is the destination. They can all get you healing and results separately, but together it is more holistic and a greater capacity when they're used together. And as I said, it gives a bit more long-term results for people, especially if they can only come for 1 or 2 sessions. I do prefer to work with people at least within a couple sessions, just to lock in those changes, to create those neural pathways that we have once formed from our limiting beliefs, our limiting perspectives. Those have been really ingrained in our mind, and they've taken a lifetime to be created. And so I do like to do a couple sessions with people in order to reframe those and create some more effective long-term benefits. Hypnosis, I would say, and NLP are also similar in that sense of they both can use visualization, they both can use reframing, different communication with the brain. And so within that, it's just really creating a new communication with the brain so that you can see yourself in that successful moment. In fact, a lot of CEOs, athletes, students use NLP and hypnosis to effect the changes, to win the race, to finish that project successfully. All of those things can be visualized and foreseen as a winning result, as a successful result through those methods together, especially. So I would say they have actually more similarities than differences, but like I said, one can be done in completely waking state without being in a trance like hypnosis. But hypnosis is very powerful. And when you can bypass that logical mind and tap into the spiritual mind, so the conscious and the subconscious, you create a greater awareness and greater changes in the mind. I also like to basically say you're bringing the two into collaboration when you're working both with NLP and with hypnosis. You're bringing that logical and the spiritual minds together so that they can collaborate more cohesively.
That is so intriguing. Thank you for sharing that and breaking it down for us to give more clarity into the various differences between hypnosis as well as NLP, the similarities, and when to use both. The way you described hypnosis as being a gateway and NLP being the destination truly resonated with me, because I work in a similar way at the end of the day. And the way you also interjected brainwave frequencies is something that I think we need to be more aware of. For we talk about brainwave frequencies on a scientific level, but its correlation to the spiritual life that we live has still yet to be discussed in greater detail. And I suppose at the end of the day, until funding is provided, we won't find out. But I do look forward to it, and I hope it happens sooner than later. To describe how it correlates in terms of the soul alignment reading, for example, right now, as I record this in video time, talking to you, I am channeling. I am bringing forward information from Great Spirit. Great Spirit is guiding me as to what to say, so I can hear them in the clairaudient gift. I can see visuals that they are providing to me through the third eye, the clairsentient gift, feeling, clear knowing, clear cognizance. All of this happening simultaneously, all in the background. Great Spirit is always around. However, when I'm in an altered state of shamanic trance, to conduct the soul alignment readings for bone lithomancy as well as healing sessions, I am in an altered state. To the visible waking eye, I look like I'm in a deep sleep, sitting in a meditative pose. What is actually happening is I am in an altered state and highly, highly conscious on the spiritual level. I'm sitting there with a shamanic council, learning about new words, teachings, healings that need to be brought forward, learning to understand the energies that are coming forward into our hemisphere so that I may be able to support those that are emerging, reawakening. For many that I work with are actual spiritual teachers and business owners on the spiritual path. If they are not yet, they are probably soon to be. And in that way, Great Spirit is also introducing me to the teachings of the angelic world, for I work with the shamanic as well as the angelic council. And I'm very grateful, very, very grateful to do what I do. I mean, I was celebrated and I really loved what I did in the corporate world, but this is a whole new level entirely, and it makes me so joyful and glad. With that being said, if one was to incorporate both hypnosis and NLP together, how is harmony derived mind, body, and spirit? Are you able to go into that in a little bit more detail? I'd appreciate it.
Incorporating hypnosis and NLP together just bring a greater collaboration, as kind of mentioned before in one of my questions. Having the two line up and collaborate cohesively creates just a better feeling in the body, for one, because when the two are at war, and I find that they are in a tug of war because of all of the beliefs and all of the things in our life that have held us back, set us back, keep us stuck. So all of those things kind of create a tug of war effect between the conscious and the subconscious mind. So the conscious mind being the logical mind, the subconscious being the spiritual mind. And so when you can bring the two together through NLP and hypnosis into a cohesiveness, you get less manifestation of illness and conflict in the body and the mind, because you're not generating anxiety and illness and all of these other things that hold us back even further from our truth and from our whole embodiment of who we are capable of being and who we truly are. When you can create that cohesiveness between that logical and the spiritual mind, the conscious and subconscious, what happens is the body then becomes a stronger vessel for the things that we need to do. And it allows you to move forward more confidently with more courage. And it allows the body, mind, and spirit to become a team, a cohesive team, which is the most important thing.
Spiritual evolution is rippling across the world, and all four quadrants of the planet are being impacted. Essentially, humanity is in a state of evolution, and many of those who are reawakening have been called to look inwards to address certain patterns of behavior that they need to address. The problem is this: for myself, for the seekers that have been led for me, and for the many teachers that I have spoken to on this particular topic. Because of the way we have been nurtured in the matrix world from children to adulthood, we have been taught to nurture the mind as well as the body, often foregoing the needs of the emotional nature and that of our spiritual nature. And so, this is the question I have for you, Angela. When we look at hypnosis and NLP, as well as all the holistic modalities that you provide for the seekers out there to support them on their hero's journey, Is there a tip or a trick that you can provide them to override the patterns of behavior that we have in here so that we can have a fully transformational change in our lives, to unlearn those patterns that are so deeply ingrained? As a pretext to help you, how about I offer you a scenario? Let's say there is a seeker, a gentleman who has walked into your office. He's in his 40s and he is going through the active stage of reawakening right now. He has been faced with the fact that he needs to address and unlearn certain patterns of behavior, in particular the overconsumption of alcohol, which inhibits him to address some of the emotional needs that he has within. In the time of looking within, he has also realized this is a pattern of behavior that he has had since he was a teenager. And it also carries on from his father, his grandfather, and so on forth down the lineage. Each of them have been suppressing the emotional needs within themselves. One, because they weren't taught how to address the emotional needs, but two, because the lack of male support system that is out there. In this particular case study, how can NLP and hypnosis help someone in this nature to unlearn some of those deeply ingrained programming, and perhaps a tip that you can help them along the way?
Well, I do like to say that once we say yes to the spiritual path, to that awakening consciousness, we must also say no to a lot of other things. This isn't really a judgment, but it's just the shamanic way, the way of the luminous warrior. And to become a luminous warrior, you must allow your luminosity to shine at the brightest that it can. And substances, alcohol, cigarettes, all of those things really dull the luminosity of your soul. And they also cloud your vision. I often hear those spiritual people that come into my practice saying, oh, I want the veil to be lifted. How can the veil be lifted? And they're, partying and drinking and staying up too late and doing all these things that don't support the body. And what it does in effect is it clouds the veil even further. And it stops you from seeing those beautiful synchronicities, those signs, from hearing those beautiful downloaded messages from the spirit guides, from your spirit team and soul family. So what I like to say is that these things are not needs, they're just wants. And anything that you don't need, you can also clear from your field. I like to use the metaphor that if you're driving a car with a dirty windshield, how can you find your way? How can you see the signs ahead if your windshield's dirty? Well, you can't. And the same goes for your body. Your physical vessel is your vehicle for your soul, because we are here, spirits embodied in a physical body, to have a human experience, not the other way around. So within that, if we want our souls to shine at the highest frequency that they're capable of, we must also keep that field clear so that we can light the way and see the path ahead much more clearly. So I use this in many of my sessions as well when I help people overcome these things. I like to use what they call anchoring in NLP, because we anchor in new feelings, new beliefs, and new behaviors. And this is something that can be practiced. We do it in session, we record that session, they go home and they practice that session. And then when they go out into the world, it gives them the capability, when those desires and those urges start to arise within them, or others around them are participating in those behaviors, it gives them a wonderful safety net to be able to calm those feelings or those urges in their body to do the drinking or the smoking or whatever it is that they're struggling with. And so it is imperative that they go home and practice that anchor and utilize that anchor. And when they do that, it is much more easy to overcome those imbalanced behaviors that can keep us held back from our fullest potential, our fullest luminosity. And I love doing that for people because it just helps them feel clearer, better, healthier, and more luminous.
I trust that the analogy that you have provided will land with the right audience at this time. And I thank you for sharing that, because I, like you, often share analogies, myths, as well as animal spirits and shamanic story, for they are powerful tools to plant into the unconscious. And at the time when it's ready to germinate, it rises to the surface of the consciousness for those seekers who need it to help them on their healing journey. Talking about animals, my beautiful cat Ziva is on my lap right now, so if you hear her purring or talking away, it's just her. Now, animal spirits. Animal spirits often come to me when I do soul alignment readings, and in this case, they come through again tonight. Prior to turning on the video camera to record, Great Spirit asked me to dig up a cup that was in storage. This cup is an elephant. And this elephant cup was brought to me by someone very dear. Now, when the elephant animal spirit occurs and is brought forward for you, it is an auspicious sign, a sign of favor. For the elephant is representative of the divine feminine, the matron, and is also the angel number 8. And the more times you see 8 appearing for you, the stronger it becomes. The elephant animal spirit teaches us to nurture ourselves, and it teaches us to embody discernment as well as love. For the more love that we give ourselves, the more we are able to extend it outwards, and quite often is the case, we are able to nurture other feminines on the path. And think of the feminine circles or feminines within the family dynamic or your closest female friends. For sometimes your female friends, a couple of years later, you come to realize are actually your soul sisters. That is why the duality and the closeness that has always resonated with you. Now, it also speaks about removing of obstacles in order to pave new pathways back to a place of abundance, hence why it is also an 8. The 8 is also symbolic of as above and so below. So whatever you're doing in a spiritual nature, you are also trying to manifest into the physical world. And that is talking about strengths, that is talking about ancient wisdoms, that is awakening within you right now. So if you are that person that has been looking for a sign, waiting for a sign, that was the sign for you. And I offer it from a place of love, and I hope that it serves you on the way. If there is anything that you should need, by all means, please reach out to myself or to Angela. We both practice the shamanic calling. So with the many modalities that you bring to the table in order to assist and support those who are awakening and reawakening and seeking your guidance, out of all of those, what is the one behavior that is necessary to ensure the success of the session?
I would say the key factors to allow the clients to have the most successful outcome in their sessions would be readiness, first of all, openness, an open heart and open mind, and repetition. Readiness, I'm referring to if you say, I need to quit smoking when you call me, and I want to do hypnosis to quit smoking. If you aren't ready to quit smoking, I can't make you quit smoking. So you have to want it as well. That really is a key factor. And I tell my clients that, like, I am here, and if you're not ready yet, come to me when you're ready. Some people just are doing it for somebody else or because they think they should. And those aren't really keys to success. It has to be for you and because you want it. Second, that openness, having an open heart and open mind is really key, because I have occasionally the client who'll come in and say, oh, this is probably not going to work. And I will not start the session until we reframe that before we start, because just as Henry Ford said, if you think you can or you think you can't, you're right. And so if you're starting your session already believing in failure, then you're going to fail because you're right. And I'll sit those people down, we'll have that discussion, and I'll say, would you like to reframe that? Because you've already paid me. So either way, I'm fine. Like you've done your part for me. However, I can't do my part for you if you already believe that you're going to fail. So would you like a successful outcome? And would you like the investment that you made to result in a successful outcome? And of course they do. And so then I have them reframe that state of mind and say, I'm willing and ready to come with an open state of mind and an open heart for the best outcome. And then we kind of go into the session after that. But I will not start a session if that's the frame of mind we're starting from. Readiness, as I said, is the most essential thing. And that kind of ties in with that state of mind and that frame of mind when you come in. And also, as mentioned in one of the previous questions, repetition and doing the homework. So just as, you know, your doctor gives you kind of a protocol to follow, or your physical therapist gives you exercises to do, or, you know, any of those types of things, your teacher gives you homework. If you don't do those things, you're not going to retain or benefit from the learnings that you are receiving from those people. And same goes for your energy worker or your hypnosis practitioner. And within that, if you don't go home and listen to the MP3s that are suggested or practice the NLP or the anchoring, those types of things, if you're not doing that homework, then it's not likely going to stick, because we have a whole lifetime of neural pathways that have been created through others' beliefs, our own experiences. And most of those are false narratives that have kept us stuck. And so in order to unravel a lifetime of those things, it does require repetition and homework. And so I just tell people ahead of time, if you don't want to participate, everything that I do is not going to stick. So we have to be a team together in this, and they have to be willing to step up and do the work that they need to do. And once they do, it just becomes easier and easier, and it's worth it in the end because you're not stuck anymore, and life feels a lot more flowy and better, and you feel more resilient and more courageous and more confident when you do overcome those behaviors and those things that have held you back from the life that you want.
Those false narratives certainly hit very hard, especially in the very early stages of reawakening, because we aren't amped. We still don't have the skills or the muscles yet to expand and overcome them with greater ease. But it's almost like training for a marathon, right? In the early stages, you really struggle to get the miles in. At first, you start thinking that speed is the most important thing. But you come to realize that sometimes the 80-20 rule is so important. Run slower at 80% of the time, and then speed up for 20%. And over time, endurance builds, and the things that you once thought were incredibly difficult to navigate or overcome come through with much greater ease, and you are able to accomplish and do more than you thought you were even capable of. One thing I often talk about with those that I work with is that when we are experiencing these times of struggle and we are open and receptive, but struggle to take the next step because of those false narratives, or we put too much pressure on ourselves, it is sometimes more worthwhile to repeat over and over and over again. Progress, not perfection. Progress, not perfection. Sometimes the world that we are living in is consistently berating us with us needing to be perfect. But what about the fact that we are already whole to start off with? And it is that wholeness that we need to remember within ourselves. As energy healers, be it craniosacral, Reiki, or shamanic healing, one thing we consistently look at in the energy is the patterns that are unfolding for us. And one thing that is enjoyed by a lot of the seekers that work with me is when my soul alignment sessions coincide with their past lives. Now, I don't consciously look at past lives, but if they are necessary for you to do your soul alignment, Great Spirit will always bring them forward. And in the years that were leading up to where we presently are, the consistency in nearly every single one of my readings was the need to heal the bloodline, to prevent generations of pain and trauma passing down again and again and again. For 7 years, they often flow. And at first, they are unconscious. But those that are around us right now are conscious of the wounds that they have. And they are either one, willing to heal the wounds to ensure it isn't passed to the next bloodline, or unwilling to do it. This is the constant state of awareness and consciousness that rises within them, a battle that they need to address within themselves. And everyone has the choice of whether they do it or not. And for many of us who are on the path of awakening, we have been called to heal the bloodline. And fortunate are you if you only had one aunt and one uncle, a smaller family dynamic. But for those of us who have big extended families, it can be extremely debilitating and painful because you are feeling on behalf of everybody else that has been unwilling to do the work within. And why do you do that? Is because we feel and we believe that the generation that come after us are deserving a life full of peace, a life that is full of joy. That is the abundance and the legacy that we wish to leave behind. Now, as part of this, the pattern that is next unfolding for us is that people have gone from healing the bloodline to now healing their past lives and learning lessons from the past lives. And not all the lessons in our past lives are difficult. Sometimes we need to go into the past lives to remind ourselves of certain things that we need to remember and to put into practice in this incarnation, this flesh where we are in. Angela, for yourself, as a past life regression and a shamanic practitioner, what are the patterns that are revealing themselves to you in your own sessions? I'd love to hear them.
I do a lot of past life work, and also I have a session that I call the Soul Wisdom session, where we go to your soul council for life review. And within that, I see a couple, actually there's quite a few themes that come up, but I'll stick to the top 3 that I've been seeing recently. I would say solitude is one of those, loneliness and solitude. And a lot of people are having past life experiences where they're finding themselves alone. And it's not necessarily a negative thing in the past life, but they definitely talk about that topic in those past lives. And we've been very separated since the pandemic especially, but the powers that be are trying to keep us separated. And within that, they have led us to believe that separateness and solitude are the stronger thing to do. And really, we are stronger as a collective. We are stronger as one, and coming together and collaborating together is very important right now. If you think about the ancestors, as they say, it takes a village. And that's so true, because in a village mentality, everybody cooked together and cleaned together and built together and hunted together. And, you know, the children were watched by many elders, not just one parent or 2 parents, or dropped off at a daycare. And that's kind of the society we're living in now. But our ancestors had a myriad of helpers and people to do it together and to learn from. And if somebody was injured, they were still fed. If somebody was elderly and couldn't do those things, they were still cared for and respected. And we don't have that in our society anymore. So I think coming back together and becoming more unified and tapping in with those around us rather than alienating ourselves from each other is going to be very key if we want to create a new world. Another aspect would be creativity or childlike playfulness. I really hear that in so many of my sessions. How can you tap into that sense of awe and wonder? How can you tap into the curiosity of a child and start seeing things through fresh eyes rather than the typical eyes that, the jaded eyes of an adult who's like, I've seen that, I've done that, it's no big deal. Where a child is just like, look at this, look at that. And their world lights up when they experience something new. And as adults, we tend to lose that sense of wonder. So Spirit's really asking us to step forward and be more creative and playful and curious and to feel those sense of wonder and awe because they light us up in new ways. So when I go out on my walks, I try to look at flowers in a different way, like a child would. And, I don't pluck the petals and pick the flower, but I just think, oh, I wonder what that petal feels like. And look at the differences in the colors of the stem and the leaves in the center of the flower. And I just kind of observe things in a new way. And I don't just walk past it and it's like, yeah, that's another flower. I really appreciate and enjoy and experience those things as I move through the world, because that's where the magic is there's so much beauty and magic around us, and we walk past it every day and we miss it, and we get home and life feels mundane, and it's time to touch base with that childlike self again. And then I would say simplicity. Simplicity is really key right now. I hear in these sessions very simple answers when we ask things like, what does this client need to do to feel more peaceful? And it's always a return to the simple things like eating a nourishing meal, going for a walk, spending time outdoors, putting your feet on the ground and absorbing the frequency of Mother Earth and allowing her to fill you up and also to release to her. Just, meditating, those types of things. They're just so simple. Most of them are free and we can do those. Our ancestors also did that. I mentioned that village mentality, and they were so in tune with nature. They knew what direction the wind was coming from and what that meant. They knew exactly all the little signs, symbols, nuances of nature and how to utilize that to their benefit. They were very intelligent, and we've lost a lot of that intelligence through, being holed up in our houses and stuck on our computers and scrolling those screens. And none of those things actually fulfill you. And I hear it every day that people are more and more depressed, or they're, addicted to their screens and those different things. When we can just return to simplicity, and instead of scrolling that screen, remember your breath. Your breath is free. Your breath is a magical miracle. And each breath you take is so special, but we forget that. And just drinking a beautiful tall glass of water and how that feels in your body, and blessing your water, using it to your advantage and to nourish yourself in new ways instead of just chugging a glass of it and not even thinking about how wonderful it is for your cells and how quenching it is to your soul. So just returning to that simplicity. And I think that is also why we see so many people wanting to live off the grid once again, that freedom that they're looking for. Don't want to work a 40+ hour job and then go home and do all the home duties and responsibilities. And that's what we've kind of turned life into, busyness and buying more things that we also then have to take care of, rather than actually taking care of this vessel, your soul, and doing those simple everyday activities that just nourish and feed you at the soul level. So yeah, I would say, solitude and loneliness, creativity and awe, and that simplicity, just returning to those things and understanding that we don't have to be alone. We're choosing to be alone because there's 8 billion people in this world. So there's really no reason to be lonely. And we must actually return to that collaboration with our community. I am seeing it in my community more and more, and it's really beautiful and inspiring. So I hope that is rolling out in more places than just where I'm at, because it's a beautiful thing.
That's so fascinating. Past life regression, soul alignment, past life journeys, some of my favorite topics, because it doesn't matter how many journeys we have been on, there is so much wisdom that comes through them that helps us to develop who we are too. There are certainly those patterns that evolve, solitude and loneliness being one, and the bringing together of community. I do wish to highlight a little bit more information on that particular topic, especially because we have many people who are listening, who are awakening and reawakening on this particular journey. So, solitude occurs especially in the early stages of reawakening, because up till then we forgot what our energetic signature is. For example, my energetic signature is very different from Ziva, who's sitting right here, and that is different from that of Angela's and that of yours. And to bring it into a deeper level yet again, the energy signature that we have when we are unhealed or in a state of healing and remembrance differs greatly to that when we are on the journey and that when we are healed. Although I don't really think anybody is fully healed, not from what I have seen, what I've witnessed, and what I've learned. However, when you go through the awakening, you start remembering what peace feels like within your body. When you start regulating that, when you start feeling well-being, you stop having less anxiety, can sleep well, things trigger you less. Or when things trigger you, you react very differently. You have a sense of calm that arises. You start being very protective of your energetic signature and the light that you emit. So when you start going out into communities, trying to find perhaps new partners, new group dynamics out there, you start looking for tribes that are healthy, that are healed, or are open and receptive to the healing journey. Because at the end of the day, we don't want to repeat patterns that continuously wound us. We have become careful and chosen discernment in protecting our light. The other two topics and patterns that revealed themselves to Angela in her past life regression with the seekers was that of childlike wonder, creativity, and that of simplicity. These topics have not appeared to me in any of my sessions here in Australia. But that makes complete sense to me, because when we are incarnated into this lifetime as spiritual teachers and healers, we are strategically placed within the communities that we can best influence, help heal, and nurture as a result of experiences in this lifetime, as well as the past lifetimes that has led us to where we are now. For Angela, it is imperative for her to be able to teach and bring awareness to these, bring creativity back into the table, allow people to understand the importance of simplicity. However, that being the case, you are here as a viewer, listening to this, learning from this, observing both Angela and I. So perhaps it is part of your path to also understand. And if this resonates with you, please make sure you reach out to her to partake in her past life regression. For this month of November, she has kindly extended a special exclusively for Journey of Light newsletter subscribers. And to be able to take advantage of that, you just need to ensure that you're subscribed and gain access to the code that is provided to you to book the session in. And I highly welcome you to do so. I have read for Angela, and I know the beautiful light that she emits, as mentioned earlier on in this interview. So please go ahead and do so. Now, to keep the balance and the harmony between the three that Angela shared, I will share another two of the patterns that have come forward in my sessions when it comes to past life. And that is, past life sessions in soul alignment have brought seekers back to where they needed to be, to remember where their gift arose from. In order to keep clients' files confidential, I'll share just a topic of mine that is similar to this. So, of course, you can see I'm Asian, fake Asian. Other than my skin, I don't know much about Asia. I don't even eat that much rice. But anyway, I grew up in Africa. And so prior to me going into the journey, Spirit told me that I was to learn about where some of my gifts come from, in particular, the ability to read bones. Because one day I didn't have the gift, and the very next day, as a result of Kundalini awakening, I read bones as easily as it takes to breathe in and out. It happened naturally. I immediately thought, oh, wonderful. I was either someone in Africa or I lived in Africa, etc., etc. But that wasn't what occurred. Instead, I was taken to Louisiana, where I was a male, a slave, trying to become free. And as a result of my wife being sick, I was trying to find another way to gain money, to gain freedom, so that I could look after her, the children, and no longer live within the plantations where I had been bound, where the family had been bound. And so bone readings was the gift that arose in that lifetime and the gift that I bring back into this lifetime. So here you can see how learning one gift can arise in another. And now what I'm doing is utilizing the gift that was shared with me then and bringing my own influence and essence based on the things that I learned in this lifetime to make it something that is solely the fruits of my love and my labor in order to help others bring healing. The third pattern was that where seekers were brought to their past life in order to witness something that they did not like about themselves. A pattern, a behavior, a lifestyle. And sometimes it just takes a very small snippet of awareness and watching yourself in a past life and understanding who you were and what you did to go, cringe. That's definitely not something I want to relive in this lifetime yet again. And as a result of that, behaviors start changing very quickly. You start shifting timelines as a result of that. So altogether, in this question that Great Spirit has brought forward our way, you have been provided with 6 different patterns that have evolved as a result of past lives. And if you are called to take part in any of these past life regression therapies, perhaps a fear or something that is calling out to you that you just wish to address, and you know it's not something from this life that you need to heal, please seek either one of us. Again, Angela's sessions are available, and I have about 5 sessions left for this year of 2025, but 2026 sessions will open in due course anyway. Last but not least, the last question Great Spirit had for you is, what do you foresee in the future with regards to the uprising that is happening within mankind? Where do you think evolution is taking us? Has there been anything revealed to you by your own spirit guides or through the sessions that you have conducted?
I would say in order to raise the consciousness of the collective, we need to all be utilizing discernment, especially now more than ever, especially with the AI that's out there. It's getting harder and harder to discern between what's real, what's not real. Same with the news and any other type of media. We just aren't getting full stories or truthful stories. Everything's very sensationalized and meant to keep us fearful. And using that discernment with others as well. Just recognizing when something doesn't feel right for you. And I would say the ownership aspect, we've really lost the ability to take ownership for our actions and reactions. And, trauma is awful, and I've experienced plenty in my own life, but it is your responsibility to heal your trauma. It's not anybody else's responsibility to regulate your nervous system for you. It's not anybody else's responsibility to tiptoe around you because of triggers. It is wonderful to have a community who understands your triggers and who encourages you to neutralize those triggers, because when we're able to neutralize our triggers, life just becomes more enjoyable for ourselves as well as for the others around us. And when others neutralize their triggers, it does the same in turn. So a friend or a family member has an epiphany or a breakthrough, and you see how healed they've become. You've experienced that within yourself, and it's so beautiful. Just knowing that like no one can do that for us. We have to want it, and we have to be willing to do that work on our own. As we do that, we also invite and ignite others to do so. And it just creates this beautiful like domino effect and allows the world to heal together. And I do, know that we've all experienced something that we need to overcome or heal. So there's definitely the compassion of that, but understanding in the end, it's like our own responsibility to do that. And that is really the purpose of every soul, is to overcome those challenges and those triggers. And I would say positive solutions would be another really important thing. I think we've been complaining for so long. There's just like a lot of negativity that does circulate. And of course, there's a lot of really difficult things happening in the world right now. It does feel darker. As they say, it's always darkest before the dawn. And I think that's where we're at right now. We're just kind of at those darkest layers of night that are just about ready to break into the dawn. And that is why it's so important for us to heal and take ownership for ourselves so that we can move forward more radiantly. And the more luminous we become, that sun is going to rise. It's going to illuminate the darkness. And as the sun rises, it will dissolve the darkness. And I do believe that as a collective, that we are almost there. We're getting there, but it just feels really intense right now. So I'd say the more positive outlook and the more positive outcomes and solutions that you can create, the faster we get there, because that frequency of creating positivity and positive solutions moves us towards the world that we actually want to create and that we desire to create. We're just about there, just about that finish line. So just hold that light, hold that space, and do the healing work, and use discernment on the things going around you, and what you're viewing and listening to. And, there are times I just shut it all off because I'm like, I can't even tell anymore if this is real or not. So I create my own reality. And I believe we all do. Just don't allow those things to take you down or put you in a spiral downward. We're ready to move upward. We're ready to elevate. We're ready to rise and dissolving the darkness.
Indeed, the energy around us is quite intense right now, and Great Spirit has advised that it will be amongst us until the 31st of March 2026. So if we're going to look at this as an analogy, the same analogy that I used earlier, we will look at it as a race, a marathon. And between now and the 31st of March, we are not going to go into this at sprinting level. We're going to honor our energy, our light, make sure we're resting, sleeping, taking time to be out in nature, exercising and grounding, watching the incremental times that we have in a day, and that what we watch and that what we listen to. Because everything emits an energy, and it's either going to lift our frequency or it's going to bring it down. And this includes people and places that we frequent. So make sure you nurture yourself. As Angela said, there are many things that is emerging in this timeline as consciousness continues to rise. The relinquishing of fear, bringing strength back to ourselves, rejuvenation, taking ownership. For me, I think one of the most important things that I would probably put in there would be being vulnerable. Being vulnerable is a crucial part of the awakening, and the journey that continues thereafter. Because quite often you will be confronted time and time again about your behavior. And sometimes it's about things that you have let go of and allowed to happen in your life unknowingly. But unknowingly it became a pattern. And you need to be able to forgive yourself for those times that you did that or placed yourself into that position. Anyway, it has been a long one, And I am extremely grateful. As mentioned, I told you Angela was going to be wonderful. And there she is, absolutely wonderful, sharing us so many insights, wisdom, and knowledges, preparing us for the path that we are meant to be on, and showcasing the beautiful work that she shares with the community and the collective that is rising into consciousness now. Dear Angela, mwah, thank you so much. I appreciate your time, your energy. You are an absolute joy. And I'm so very grateful to be able to interview and work with you today. Take care, my dearest one. Thank you. And thank you, everybody, for your time and energy, for being here to listen to Angela and I. We look forward to working with you soon. Take care. Good night.